Do you want to start eating a plant-based diet, but you have no idea where to start? In this video, I'll give you 5 tips for how to start incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet. Coming up. Hello, my mindful foodies, it's Mike. Everywhere that we look nowadays, there's more and more evidence to the benefits of a plant-based diet, but I know it can be really overwhelming at the thought of shifting your diet to a plant-based diet, right? My goal is not to turn everybody into a vegan. What I really want people to start to realize is that there's just not much debate anymore about the benefits of incorporating a more plant-based diet, right? Like things like reducing obesity, things like reducing the risk of heart disease, certain cancers, helping with skin conditions, helping with gut health. All of those things are pretty non-disputed anymore, right? And it's not that I'm here to try to turn everybody into a vegan. I myself still do incorporate the odd, I call it happy animal products, where I pay the money for a farmer to have cared about those animals when they were raising them, right? And it's a very, very small percentage of my diet is made up of those products. But what it comes down to is that eating plant-based really does benefit your health. So if you can start to shift your diet and the diet of your family to a more plant-based way of eating, even for a few days of the week, not only will it have a massive impact on your own health, it actually has an environmental impact as well, right? Like taking meat off the table a couple days a week, it's like removing your car from the road for the entire year. So when you start to look into the reasons behind it, that's not really debatable anymore, but the difficulty of shifting over to a plant-based way of eating is definitely something that's real, right? If you're used to eating meat 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, that the thought of taking meat out of your diet for 5 or 6 days of the week can seem completely impossible, right? The first tip that I want to bring up is eat more vegetables, okay? So that might seem pretty obvious, but if you start to make a concerted effort to bring more vegetables into your diet, a bigger variety of vegetables, new and interesting things that maybe you've never prepared before, just kind of naturally what will happen over time is that if you're incorporating more vegetables, a lot of those animal products just kind of trickle out of your diet, right? So that's the first step, would just be really getting interested and curious about vegetables and how you can incorporate them, starting to look up, vegan recipes, plant-based recipes, and find things that you're interested in making and incorporate those vegetables into your diet, okay? So the second thing that I would say would be to shift your perception on meat and animal products in general, right? So a lot of us were raised in a society, in a household that valued meat above all else. It was like every meal there had to be a big chunk of protein there, right? And again, the science just shows that generally speaking in the Western world, we are overfed protein. We have too much protein coming into our bodies. And there's some pretty interesting science around, protein overconsumption being linked to certain kinds of cancers again, right? Which might make that connection as well to why eating plant-based reduces the risk of certain cancers. But whenever you start to shift your perception around meat, and if you're still going to incorporate meat into your diet, it's looking at it from a different angle. Like it can be kind of the secondary part of the meal, right? So you start by filling your plate up 3/4 of the way or halfway with delicious vegetables, and then incorporating the meat kind of as an afterthought, right? So yes, you do need to incorporate protein into your diet, obviously, right? The problem is that most of the time people think that the only way to get a significant source of protein is through animal products, and that's just not true, right? The whole, I call it the vegan argument that giraffes, elephants, rhinoceros, they're all plant-based eaters. Gorillas, like the biggest, most muscular animals on our planet, are plant-based dieters, right? So there is plenty of protein coming in the vegetables that you're eating, the legumes, the grains, all of that kind of stuff. Protein mixing is something that you do have to be aware of if you're not incorporating any animal products. So if you want to learn more about protein mixing and how to mix grains and legumes and vegetables to get complete proteins in your diet, please comment below and I'll talk about that in another video. But whenever you might have this idea that you need to have meat at every meal, and just starting to create a different perception about how meat shows up in your diet. Yes, you can still incorporate some of it, but can you start to considerably reduce the amount of protein that you're relying on coming from animal products and start to increase the amount of protein that you're getting from vegetables and from legumes and from seeds and nuts and all of those kind of things? If you want to start eating more plant-based at home, my third tip for you would be to start preparing one plant-based meal a week, right? don't, you want to be really careful about making grandiose plans. Like, okay, like I'm gonna, get rid of all of the animal products in my house and I'm never eating any of it ever again. And first of all, if you have a family, that can really push everyone in your family away from getting on board with this. You don't want to force anybody or make anybody feel like they're being rushed into a big life change like this. And yourself included. If it's just you that is trying to do this, have a little bit more compassion for yourself and a little bit more understanding. Yes, some people can completely go cold turkey, or not cold turkey, cold tofurkey and go vegan, right? And really, it's not the most successful option for most people. So starting to get incorporating one plant-based meal a week, right? And look for something that you love. Like start to, the food that's your comfort food, the food that you love the most, that might be one of the places you want to start to try to find a plant-based alternative, right? So if it's a burger, look for plant-based burger alternatives. If it's a mac and cheese, look for plant-based mac and cheese recipes. And you might have to try 2 or 3 different recipes more before you find one that you really love that's an acceptable substitute for your favorite comfort food. But if you can find that recipe and then once a week start to incorporate that meal, if you have a family, it can start to be getting your kids interested, right? Get your kids to look up plant-based recipes if they're old enough to Google, or get your spouse to get interested, and like together you can prepare something new. And it's just a way of getting excited about incorporating plant-based food into your diet instead of thinking that it's this, chore and that it's not going to be delicious and that it's kind of gross and you're forcing it down. Plant-based vegan food can be and is completely delicious if it's prepared properly, and you just need to get interested in how to make that happen. The fourth tip that I'll give you to start incorporating more plant-based is to build meals around salads, right? So instead of building meal around protein, like I have a steak, I'm gonna build my meal around the steak. No, build the meal around a salad, right? Again, fill your bowl or your plate with 3/4 of the way full with fruits and vegetables mostly, right? And then after that, the protein can be an afterthought. Maybe you do have a little bit of canned tuna or you do have a little bit of grass-fed beef, right? And if you're getting animal products, look for sustainably caught, sustainably raised, ethically raised, environmentally thoughtful animal products, because there's a big difference between one, styrofoam tray of meat from the grocery store or one that's coming from a farmer and from a butcher that really cared about the animals that they're preparing for you. But regardless of what protein it is that you're incorporating, if you start to build your meal around the salad and make a habit of that, chop up some lettuces, chop up some vegetables, get a salad dressing you like, put some nuts and seeds in there. And when you have this abundant salad, if you really feel like you want to incorporate some meat into that, making, again, like I just said, the meat the afterthought and the secondary kind of accoutrement, the garnish to your salad, as opposed to it being the foundation of every meal. Big salads are a really powerful way to get lots of nutrients into your body. And if if salads don't sound that interesting to your family, I would say make a salad bar, right? So one thing that I know about kids is that they like to be given choice. They like selection. So if you chop up 5 or 6 different vegetables, right? Keep them in containers in your fridge. Make 1 or 2 or 3 different salad dressings that, again, they'll last you for a while in your fridge, maybe up to, 2 weeks even, depending on the recipe. And if you have those things in your fridge, creating a salad bar for dinner is actually not that hard at all, right? You just take out all those containers of chopped vegetables, pull out the 2 or 3 or 4 salad dressings that you've prepared. You prepare them yourself because you're plant-based, so it's not coming out of a bottle, right? And when you put that on the table, now it's not like you're telling your family, here's the salad that I made that you have to eat, which might work sometimes, right? But if you give them that option and that selection, then it's gonna make it a lot easier for people to get on board and make it feel like they're choosing to do this and not being forced into it, right? So my 5th tip for eating more plant-based is to incorporate good fats and leafy greens, okay? So just like earlier when I mentioned about, making the vegetables kind of the center of your plate, when you start to incorporate really nutrient-dense foods into your diet, it actually really helps to start to reduce the cravings for those less healthy foods, from my experience, right? A lot of the time, food cravings actually come from our body being starved of nutrients. So our body will just keep saying, eat, 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 because I'm not being satisfied with what you're eating, right? So if you're living off of McDonald's or living off of processed packaged food, a lot of the time this creates this dependence, this addiction on these processed foods, because your body is constantly saying, I'm hungry, even if you just took in 5,000 calories from a frozen pizza, right? Because there's no nutrition in the food that you're eating. So when you incorporate really good quality fats, things like nuts and seeds, avocados within moderation, coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, those healthier quality fats. First of all, certain nutrients are fat soluble. So if you have a completely fat-free diet devoid of any fats, it can actually cause issues with absorbing certain nutrients. So The second thing I was saying about the leafy greens, if you're eating leafy greens with no fat at all, some of the nutrients in those leafy greens are not being absorbed by your body, and it's just kind of getting wasted. It's literally going out in your waste, right? So what you want to be doing is incorporating really dark leafy green vegetables to be packing nutrients into your body, and then, moderate amounts of good quality, organic, least refined fats that you can find to help with the absorption of those nutrients and also to help with you feeling full, right? Fat is what keeps you feeling satiated, and protein to a lesser extent, but it's really the fat. Why you feel full after a hamburger or a steak is because of the fat that's in that really satiates you and makes you feel satisfied for a long time. So the same thing can be said by incorporating things like avocado and nuts and seeds. They will help to make you feel full and satisfied a lot longer. So those are my 5 tips for incorporating a more plant-based diet into your life. If you have any comments about those tips, if you have another tip that might help somebody else, please add that to the comment section below. If there's something else that you want me to talk about, mention that, subscribe to my channel, like this video, or share it with anybody that you think might benefit from it. Keep nourishing your body, keep moving your body, and stay connected to your body, yeah? I will see you soon. Have an awesome rest of your day.